Thanks for tuning in today. You're watching Doubtful Conversations. We are a ministry that strives to reach Christians who are doubting their Christian faith with the truth of the Christian worldview. I want to ask you really quick before today's episode begins to do a couple of things, to consider doing a couple of things to support this ministry. First of all, it's free of charge. You don't have to do anything other than click a button. If you could please click the subscribe button on this video, that would be very helpful to me. Every subscription helps, and when we reach a certain level of subscribers, YouTube unlocks features that help us to more easily reach doubting Christians. We just, at the time of this recording, eclipsed the 100 subscriber mark, which is amazing. Help us to move forward even more by clicking that subscribe button. Also, if you are feeling really generous and you want to really help us reach doubting Christians in a significant way, consider supporting this ministry monthly with as little as $1 a month on patreon.com/doubtfulconversations. We've got all sorts of content available to our Patreons. If you support us at $5 a month or more, you get early access to all of our videos, and then there are a couple other levels where you get the option to ask questions of our interview guests, and then I will also be putting out patron-only content that only our patrons will have access to, that will never be released on this channel. So thank you for supporting us, and again, this ministry will always be free to you. You'll never have to pay to see these videos. So without further ado, here is today's episode of Doubtful Conversations. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Doubtful Conversations. My name is Tyler Ferguson, your host, and today we are going to be talking very quickly in this short episode on the question of why should I believe Christianity if I'm not 100% certain. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, a friend, who brought up this analogy to try and talk through this question of why in the world should we believe Christianity if we're not 100% sure. And he used the analogy of a parachute and going skydiving. And what he said was that suppose you are going on a skydiving trip and you get to the place that you're going to be boarding the plane, to the airport, and when you get there, you see the parachute, and you ask the person who's taking you skydiving, hey, is this parachute safe? Are you 100% sure this parachute is safe? And the person says, I'm not 100% sure. We might crash. We might fall out of the sky without the parachute working and die. But I don't think we will. I think it's pretty safe. So come on, let's go. And he said, if that happened, there is no way I would go skydiving that day. I would back out. I'd say no, thank you, and I'd be out of there. And he said, if we would do that with a simple skydiving trip, then when we look at Christianity, which means a whole lot more for our lives than simply jumping out of an airplane, right? Like Christianity changes everything for us, okay? Then why would I believe Christianity? Why would I submit myself to this set of beliefs and to this lifestyle if I'm not 100% sure? Now, if you're a Christian watching this and you're certain in your faith and whatnot, you might be asking the question at this point, well, why wouldn't you? What do you have to lose, basically, right? Why not become a Christian? What do you mean you wouldn't do it if you weren't 100% sure? Yeah, if you get salvation, right? But I don't think it's that simple, because becoming a Christian also means losing some of the things that you used to do, right? Or acknowledging that there are certain things in my life that I've enjoyed that if I'm a Christian, obviously I'm not going to be able to partake in those things anymore. Maybe it's believing certain things about what the Bible says about things like homosexuality and stuff like that, where you say, why would I believe these things if I didn't have to? And so you use this analogy and say, if the parachute wasn't 100% safe, I would leave and not go skydiving. And so therefore, if I can't be 100% sure about Christianity, then why should we still adhere to it? And I want to address this with maybe a little bit of a different metaphor because it sounds really good, but I think there's a couple problems with the metaphor that can clear this up for us. A couple of things for us to understand about this issue. First of all, what is Christianity? I think we have to get to the bottom of what Christianity is. Now, Christianity, a lot of times you'll hear kind of the Christianese of Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship. Yes and no. Christianity is a relationship, but it's also a religion. Christianity is a religion. And Christianity is also a worldview. Okay, that's very important for this discussion today. What is a worldview? Well, very simply, a worldview is the way in which you make sense of the way things are in the world. Okay, so you've got this huge set of facts about the way the world works, right? And a worldview is what you adopt in order to explain all of those facts to the best of your ability. So everyone has a worldview, right? Everyone has a way of taking their surroundings, of taking everything you know about the world and making sense of it, right? And Christianity is a worldview. So now the question becomes, how do we choose a worldview? How do we choose a worldview? Now, this is where it's very important to remember and to understand that you cannot choose a worldview based on 100% what we would call Cartesian certainty. Okay, you can't say, I'm only going to adopt the worldview that I am 100% certain about. And here's why you can't say that. You can't say that because 100% Cartesian certainty is not really possible about anything. Okay, so let's go back to the original skydiving analogy. Really, you cannot be 100% certain that this parachute is going to safely get you to the ground, even if the person says you can, because you have not made that jump yet. You can only be 100% certain about things in the past, right? You cannot be 100% certain about things in the future. And even things in the past, you can't be 100% certain about because maybe you were deceived. Maybe you dreamed it. There's all these little, what I would call pinhole arguments that you could make to say you can't even be 100% certain about things in the past, okay? So we can't be 100% certain about any worldview. So then how do we choose a worldview? How do we choose a worldview? Well, there's two things I want to say here. First of all, you might be saying, well, then I wouldn't choose a worldview. But here's a problem with that. Yes, you would choose a worldview. And in fact, you have. Everyone has. Every single living person on the face of the planet has a worldview. Your worldview may be materialism, where you say all that exists is what's material and everything evolved from biological evolution with no guidance whatsoever and everything just happened by chance, right? But that's a worldview. That's your way of explaining the way things are. And you might say that that best explains reality, okay? But you have to choose a worldview. So then how do we choose a worldview? Well, we choose a worldview based on which worldview best explains reality. Which worldview best explains reality? Okay, so you've got all of these different worldviews lined up, right? And certainly we can't know them all. We don't need to know them all to say which one we think best explains reality. Because if there comes along a worldview that we had never seen before, that we had never heard of before, and we examine that objectively, and we say, you know what, I think this better explains reality, then you know what, we would adhere to that worldview. But everyone adheres to the worldview that they believe best explains reality. Okay, so that's why, if you ask me why am I a Christian, I'm going to tell you first and foremost because I think it's true. Because I think Christianity best explains the way things actually are. So let's take all of that and let's rework the analogy to make better logical sense. So imagine you're going to go skydiving, but in this case, you can't choose to go skydiving. You have to go skydiving. You are being forced somehow. You are being forced, whether you like it or not, to go skydiving. And so you get to the airport and you've got 3 parachutes in front of you, and you have to choose one of these parachutes to use on your skydiving trip. The first one that you look at has it used to have rather, an obvious hole in it, right? Like you can obviously tell it's been patched, but you learn that it was stitched up by someone who has been sewing for 60 years. They have been sewing parachutes for 60 years, right? And you also know that the pilot who pilots this plane has jumped with this parachute once, and it worked. But you also learn that no engineering expert, no one who actually makes parachutes, will stand by this parachute. They all say, it's a little sketchy. Okay, so that's parachute 1. Parachute 2 is one that was created by an engineer who specializes in high-end parachutes. This specific one has never been used on a jump before, but this same type of parachute, the same brand, the same one, but not this exact parachute, has been used on 100 previous occasions. And on 97 out of those 100, it was successful. But on 3 of the 100, it was not successful. The parachute did not engage. And then the third one, you learn, was also created by an engineer specializing in high-end parachutes. And you learn that engineer is also an avid jumper. And this is the parachute that he uses. In fact, he has used this specific parachute a dozen times. Also, this same type of parachute has been used by thousands and thousands of skydivers, and there has never been one recorded instance of it failing. Okay, so take these 3 options, and you have to choose one. You cannot be 100% certain that any one of them is going to work, right? You cannot be 100% sure. So you have to throw that out the window. You cannot choose a parachute based on 100% certainty. So you're going to choose a parachute based on which one has the best probability, the best chance of working when you need it. And obviously here, you're going to go with parachute number 3, right? They all probably have some likelihood of working. In fact, maybe more than 50%. Parachute 3 obviously has the best chance of working. So when we choose a worldview that we are going to live by, that we are going to subscribe by, this is a great analogy to explain how we do that. We have to choose a worldview. No one can escape this life without having a worldview. And so what we do is we have to look at the worldviews that we're aware of, the ones that people have taken seriously, right? And we have to say which one of these best explains reality. Now, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, or you're into Christian apologetics or whatnot, you know that I believe that Christianity best explains the way things are. Are there things that are left unexplained on Christianity? Well, you could argue that there are, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to not explain everything. Our goal is to line up the facts of the way things are and to say, you know what? Christianity best explains why things are in this world the way they are. So if you are struggling with doubt when it comes to your Christian faith because you lack this 100% certainty, like you really want that, but you lack it, and you've got questions that are unanswered, and you can't be 100% sure, and you say, do I need to walk away if I'm not 100% sure? Let me appeal to you with this. If you walk away from Christianity because you're not 100% certain, here's what's going to happen. You're going to adhere to another worldview, right? You're going to jump from Christianity to another worldview, at which point you're going to realize you're not 100% certain about it, right? Because you're never going to be 100% certain about any worldview. So ask yourself this question. Do I believe that Christianity is the best explanation for the way things are? And if you do, if you believe that that's true, then you must be a Christian. Reason tells you that you must be a Christian. So that is all for the episode today. I know it was very short. I know it was very simple, but I hope this helps you. Remember, we're not after Cartesian certainty. We're after what best explains reality. And friends, Christianity best explains reality. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please click the subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps me out tremendously. Also, if you want to support me on Patreon, you can visit patreon.com/doubtfulconversations. Any amount of money will help me tremendously in reaching doubting Christians. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of Doubtful Conversations, and we'll see you next time. God bless.